So you've heard all about Austin's booming economy, the tech scene, and unbeatable barbecue.
Wow.
The barbecue is pretty darn good. But what people don't often tell you is what are the hidden costs that come with living in Austin. So today we're going to pull back the curtain on those unexpected expenses, and then some of those things catch newcomers off guard, and that's what I want to expose. So whether you're thinking of relocating or you've even been here a while, it's important to know what you're really signing up for. You may be renting and looking to purchase a house. There's just so much to it. Let's get into it. Housing. Austin's housing market is pretty hot, and you probably know that already. But beyond the mortgage payment or rent, there are hidden costs you need to be aware of. So, for one, property taxes. Property taxes here are some of the highest in Texas. They're not as bad as Houston, but they're still up there. And depending on where you buy, you could be looking at over 2% of your home's value annually. If it's new construction, it could be 2.5 or 3% annually. And while that does diminish over time, it's still absolutely something that is going to impact your monthly payment. And a lot of people don't know that. So because we do have no state income tax, people hear that and they think, great. But then the property tax kind of sneaks up on them a little bit. So for a $5,000 home, what that means is that's about $10,000 a year, which easily adds hundreds of dollars to your monthly mortgage payment. So the next thing that I want to talk about are HOA fees. So in areas like Mueller or other new construction developments around Easton Park, the place near Velocity, Onion Creek, some of those things. Anytime there's a new Santa Rita Ranch, if you're talking about Parkside on the river, I'm just kind of throwing some names out there. Lakeside Meadows, the HOAs can range from $100 to $400 a month. And you see a lot that started around $75 a month, but they can get pretty high. And we're not talking the communities that might be high end golf course communities with memberships or condo regimes. Those can go much higher. But depending on the amenities, the pools, the parks, and the maintenance services, these fees can catch you by surprise if you don't factor them into your budget. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about are utilities. Austin, we know it gets hot. So Austin's summer heat can be pretty brutal, and cooling your home is not very cheap. So average electricity bills during the summer months can easily climb well past $200 a month, especially if you're living in older homes that aren't energy efficient. And so like people might look at homes that are built in the 1980s, but the windows haven't been changed since the 1980s. And with water restrictions common during droughts, you may not be familiar with how droughts work here in Texas. Water bills can also spike, particularly if you have a lawn to maintain, right? You got to water it half the time, or a pool. Imagine the cost of filling a pool when we're in a drought. That's not fun. So that's why I would say if you can get a home that's modernized or updated or to where it's energy efficient, and we can always talk about solar, but that's a whole other conversation, probably for another day. I think I actually have a video on solar somewhere. I'll put it up. But you also can get simple things like smart thermostats, which help regulate your temperature, and they can save you hundreds of dollars over time, and especially in those hot July and August months. All right, so the next one we want to talk about is transportation, and it often goes unnoticed until you're stuck on I-35 during rush hour. So I drive an electric vehicle, and it still costs a pretty penny to be able to maintain that vehicle. And I'm talking about the driving, not the maintenance costs over time. So Austin's public transportation system is growing. We have something called Project Connect that they're working on, which will increase the number of rail lines and trains that are going to and from different places in and around the city, including the airport. But right now, it's still car dependent mostly. Even though the Boring Company with Elon Musk has called Austin home, they still haven't made any significant progress in this city as far as improving the transportation yet. So I'm excited to see when it does. It's not here yet, at least at the recording of this video. So keep your eyes out for that kind of stuff. So gas prices, they're really not that high here compared to a lot of other places. Like if you look at the gas prices in California versus here, you feel grateful that they're as low as they are. But if you're sitting in traffic and you're driving an F-250 diesel, well, it adds up. So both with time and wear and tear on your vehicle. And so don't forget parking fees. Oh my goodness. So if you work downtown, those can be $150 to $300 a month for like a reserved spot. And that, I mean, again, this is if you work downtown. So in the suburbs, it's not really a thing. But what happens is a lot of people, they live in the suburbs and they have to drive somewhere downtown, and then they have to sit in a lot of traffic. And we're not talking LA traffic. We're not talking New York traffic. We're not talking Chicago traffic. Oh my gosh, we're not talking Houston or Dallas traffic either. But it is still definitely something to pay attention to. And if you don't want to sit in traffic, you might want to take the toll roads. So like 130, Highway 130 is one of the fastest roads in the country, but it's going to cost you a little bit to drive on that as well. So I had mentioned Project Connect a little bit more, and so they're developing that, and that's on the horizon. So that might improve things, but right now you just have to factor in some of these transportation expenses when you're planning your move. Okay, let's talk about food. So it is a foodie paradise. Austin is delicious. There is so much good food here. It's actually a little upsetting, and you have to kind of watch what you eat because you'll just eat all the time. We have amazing tacos. We have craft breweries. I can't say that word. Breweries. I don't drink anyway. So, and then endless brunch spots. There are lots of brunch spots, but dining out often comes with a hefty price tag, especially when it's organic or farm to table or vegan. And they even have like pet restaurants and stuff. So if you're hitting up some of these popular spots or some of these exquisite cuisine locations, a meal for two can easily be about $50 or more, and that's before tip. So even groceries aren't as cheap as you'd expect. With Austin's growth, prices have kind of crept up a little bit. So if you're into organic or specialty foods, stores like Whole Foods, Central Market, Sprouts will definitely make a dent in your budget. So another thing, Austin's music scene and festivals are legendary, but they're not always budget friendly. Events like ACL or South by Southwest, so that's Austin City Limits, and SXSW, you'll see those a lot. They happen every year. One is in the fall, one is in the spring. They cost hundreds of dollars, and even local gigs often have cover charges just to be able to get in. And so for those of you, for those of you that like outdoor stuff, the kayaking, paddle boarding, on Lady Bird Lake. That's awesome, but you still may need to rent equipment, and that can add up too. And it's kind of the same if you go to Lake Georgetown, Lake Travis, Lake Pflugerville, Lake Bastrop. You're not just on the lake by yourself without spending any money to do that. Oftentimes there's a boat involved or another watercraft that you have to pay for. So it costs a little bit to have a lot of fun. I mean, but there is a lot of free stuff to do too. Actually, you know what? I should focus on creating a video for that. Would you want me to? I would like you to let me know what type of videos and activities you think that I should focus on sharing on this channel. I think that'd be pretty important. So it is worth it for the experience, but kind of ahead of time, if it gives you a chance to plan and pick what events you want to spend the money on. So if you're thinking about buying a home in Austin, it's not just the down payment that you need to budget for. So closing costs here can typically range between 2% and 5% of the home's price. So if you're buying a $400,000 home, that could be up to $20,000 on top of your down payment. And if you're purchasing in a competitive neighborhood or during a competitive time, like we saw over the past couple of years, and additional costs like home inspections, appraisals, title, insurance, it can all sort of add up pretty quickly. So these are factors to keep in mind when buying. And if you do need help navigating these costs or like finding the property that matches your budget, just know that you can head over to ianofAustin.com at any time. I've got resources, I've got connections. I always say I know a guy that knows a guy, and I want to do my best to make this process a little bit smoother for you. That is what my value is. One of the things that my value is. So have you ever experienced any of these hidden costs since moving to Austin? I guess if you're already here, or maybe you've got another expense that caught you by surprise. So drop your thoughts in the comments below. I think that's a good way to help each other out. That would be really nice. And if you found this video helpful, please share it with someone moving, thinking of moving to Austin. And there you have it, the hidden costs of living in Austin revealed. It's a great city. It really is, with a lot to offer, but it's important to know all the details so you can plan effectively. One note, as an example, that I didn't talk about is Texas in general is one of those states that doesn't have a sales tax when you're buying or selling a property, where it's only one of 13. And so there are, and then I talked about the no state income tax. And so there are some very nice benefits for being here. And so overall, if you want to stay up to date on Austin's real estate market, learn more tips, buying, selling, investing, moving into the area, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And remember, ianofAustin.com or Ian of Austin, Texas Realtor, your go-to for everything about Austin, Texas real estate. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.